Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Me First Morning. I am your host, Patricia Ribeiro Wolfson. Just making sure the mic is facing the right way because I couldn't hear myself. How is everybody doing this morning? Welcome. I'm really excited to be here today, as I usually am every day, because every day is a new day. And as we used to say at my old job, it's a great day to be a great day, or something like that. A good day to be a good day? I don't know. But it is. It's a good day to be a good day. So, that being said, let's get today started. Well, I'm sure it started a lot for most of you, but for me, well, this part of it has started. I also woke up early and had my day starting early, but let's get things moving and let's start calibrating our energy so that we can step in fully to who we want to be. I haven't introduced myself officially, so for those of you first watching and don't know who I am, my name is Patricia Ribeiro Wolfson. I am your energy alchemist. I'm an intuitive coach and an energy healer, a wife and a mom of 3 boys, and my mission is to help you calibrate your energy, which is really what this show is all about, making little tweaks and changes and shifts and adjustments to improve your life on a daily basis. I also want to teach you how to integrate self care into easy, doable steps because we have to take care of ourselves, but we don't have time to just stop and do something that's only taking care of ourselves. So I help people sort of integrate the self care into routines that already exist, and then allowing you to expand that self-care routine into something that works for you, for your family, for your life. And I also am really passionate about teaching you to shine your light on the world in your own unique way. That's what we're here to do. And so that's what I'm here to help you do. All right. Welcome. If you're here, say hi. Good morning. If you're watching the replay, say hashtag replay because then I know you have been watching. Or just spread the word, just share it to your friends. And don't forget to please subscribe. Just click on that subscribe button and ding that notification bell. Go to YouTube and go jumpstart or type in jumpstart for change, and you'll see me. And that is where we are broadcasting the show live from right now. And also on Facebook for those of you who are connected to me through Facebook. I'm very happy to be in both places, so it's easy to find me and the show. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Okay, so today's topic is all about intuition versus social conditioning. And it is actually an idea that I've had to talk about for a long time. But today, something happened to me that made it really present for me. And I was like, you know what? This is exactly the topic we need to talk about. So I'm just going to take a little sip of my coffee. Hold that thought, please. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys what happened to me this morning. And then we're gonna talk about more of it like after we do our warm up. Okay. So, but here's the thing that I want to talk about. So this morning, I woke up getting the kids ready for school. Everybody needs to leave the house. I have to drive them. And I hear this little voice in my head that says, go warm up the car. Right. And so I've got like about 5-10 minutes before the kids are ready to leave. And it would have been a perfect time to just warm up the car for a little bit so that it could be nice and warm when we got in. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Right. And immediately followed, the voice that followed that one that said, go warm up your car. Immediately I heard, what, you can't take a little bit of cold? What's wrong with you? Right. So this like critical voice. Hey, stay there. Shh, Blue, sit. This dog wants to jump off the couch, but he just had spine surgery, so he can't. Well, he's not on the couch, he's on my chair. Anyway, so so here I am, and I'm telling you this because what happened was then I decided not to go turn on the car because I was like, I can deal with the cold. I'm Canadian, like a big deal, right? So I go, and the kids are ready. We go outside, and there is a sheet of ice on the windshield, right? There is like this frost. So I have to turn on the car and warm it up before we can leave, thereby making my kids, really, really close to the time they needed to be there or actually late for school for the time they had to be there. And as soon as I saw that sheet of ice on the windshield, which I didn't check if there was ice on the windshield, I was just thinking warmth, right? When I heard the voice in my head saying, turn on the car, warm up the car, in my head, I was thinking, oh yeah, that's for my warmth, not thinking that it was a message for me to turn on the car in order for me to, because it was in my highest and greatest good to start the car early so that I did not have a frosted windshield when I drove because it is unsafe to do so. But I questioned that thought. I questioned it. And in fact, I didn't just question it, I judged the thought and made myself feel terrible for having that thought. And so I didn't warm up the car, thereby paying for it after in, upsetting my children because we were late. Hold on a second. Oh, you want to get down? You can get down. Right there. Okay. Now he's going to try to hop up on the couch that I just took him off of. All right. Thank you for your patience. Welcome, welcome, welcome once again if you're just joining me. So that is what we're talking about today. How can you tell which voice is the voice of guidance that is looking out for your highest and greatest good, that is giving you information that is for your highest and greatest healing? Or which voice is the voice of judgment, the voice of social conditioning, the voice of warning, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit more after. Right now, we are going to do our warm up. I guess it's a warm up, our ritual. I don't know. I change the name all the time. Why? Because I don't know. Because I do. So we're going to do our morning ritual. Please join me in lighting your candle and beginning this um, cleansing and grounding session, or cleansing and centering session if you prefer. It's the CC session, cleansing and centering. I like it. Okay, so the candle's on. Good morning, Mom. Good morning. All right, and essential oils. I like this meditation blend. And today I have a little bit, my head's like a little not happy with me right now. So I have to be very careful which essential oils I use when my head is sort of feeling like a headache coming on. So I am using the meditation oil today from this organic infusions company, which is great, versus the other one that I was using, which was a clear quartz. But there's a smell to it that when my head's sensitive, can't do it, cannot. Okay, so we've lit our candle. We've put some beautiful essential oils. And now we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And don't forget that these breaths, this ritual, this is for you to center yourself. It is for you to charge up for the day, right? So what are we doing? We are pulling in, breathing in life force energy, right? That's number one. What do you need to live? You need oxygen, you need breath, right? What else do you need? You need light, right? So we are going to allow that light to enter in through the top of our head and imagine that the sun is just pouring liquid sunshine into the top of our head. At the same time, we have our feet well planted onto the ground. Because not only do we need oxygen and do we need sunlight, but we also need nourishment from the earth, right? So we are covering mind, body, soul with this recharge session, right? We are covering all the points. We need to make sure that we are connected and centered and filling up, right? Just like you would fill with gas, you are filling up your human vessel for the day. So let's do that. Let's fill up for the day. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And once again, remember, liquid sunshine pouring in through your head because we need the sun, your feet well planted on the ground, allowing the nourishment to come up through your feet. So you are getting light, you are getting nourishment, and you are breathing at the same time, bringing in oxygen, that life force energy, that breath that keeps us breathing in these physical vessels. So let's do that together. And hold. And release. Beautiful. Let's do that again. Breathe in. And release. One last time. And with this last breath, I want you to really make it count. I want you to breathe in as deeply as you can and imagine that that beautiful sunlight and that earth energy, right? That nourishing energy is just coming into your body and breaking apart any stuck, stagnant, or dense energy. And when you breathe out, you are releasing what doesn't serve you. So we are charging up and we are cleansing. Ooh, I like that. Charging, cleansing, and clearing. I need to write that down. I love when I come up with stuff like that. Okay. So we are charging, we are cleansing, and we are clearing. Let's do this together. Last breath. And hold and release. Beautiful. Yes, yes. Good morning, Meredith. All right. So now we are releasing the tension, right? So we are cleansing, clearing, right? Cleansing and clearing. Oh, my neck is really sore this morning. So go and stretch out any part of your body that you feel tension, you feel stiffness, or you feel discomfort. I want you to just, put your attention on it. And if you can stretch it, do it. And if you can't stretch it, just like breathe into the parts that aren't feeling good, that feel uncomfortable, that feel disconnected or disjointed from your body, or where you feel it needs a little extra love and care from you. Okay. And so we're moving. I like to move my shoulders because I carry a lot of tension in the back, my upper back and my neck, right? Which is why this is always what I stretch and where I release my tension is here. And you guys may have other spots. You may have parts of your legs, of your torso. You can also do some tapping to just release, like there are tapping, places that you can tap, right? There's like, scripts that you can follow. But sometimes what I like to do is to literally just tap to wake up my body, right? To just like wake it up and to like allow it to increase its capacity and just be like, hey, feeling good, tapping through the energy. Okay. So I'm just giving you tools that I use sometimes randomly, sometimes like, it'll just come to me. And so that's what I'm sharing with you. So after we've done all that, then we shake it out. Okay. We have released our tension. Hopefully, we have centered ourselves. Okay. We have cleared away all the things that don't serve us. And we are going to solidify that cleansing, clearing, and charging with our morning prayer. So feel free to join me and just set your intention. For those of you who are usually with me, you know what I mean. Think about your GPS word. What coordinates are you putting into your GPS today? And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. You can go ahead and download my workbook right here. It's a free GPS workbook that will talk to you all about what your GPS word is and how you can come up with it. But very briefly, it is the feeling that you want to embody in your day. More importantly, it is the feeling that you wish to achieve at some point in your life when you have all achieved all the goals, right? So what is that feeling? What does it feel like? And how can you bring it in to each and every day? And that is us calibrating to the energy of the feeling. Hence, why we do Me First Mornings and why we do this ritual so that we can calibrate our energy to the feeling that we want, right? And so that we can always have it on top of mind, what we are looking for to create in our life so that we can create it. And we're like, oh, yes, I want peace. Oh, yes, I'm looking for spaciousness. Oh, yes, I want connection. So that when you're making decisions, you can guide yourself through the GPS system and say, hey, I want to make connections or I want to feel connected. So what choice is the more connected choice or the most connected choice, or what choice is the most peaceful choice? And that will help inform your choices all day. And that's why we do this each and every day, because everybody needs a reminder. Okay. So set your intention right now, and I'm going to say our prayer as I go and find it right now. Okay. Divine Mother, Infinite Father, Creator, Ascended Masters, Archangels, Spirit guides, ancestors, and all beings of 100% pure white light, allow me to be a clear and open channel of your light and love without hesitation or ego. I ask, may the highest vibration of love and light connect with my higher self and release any and all things that no longer serve me. I ask that Saint Germain and his infinitely powerful violet flame burn away the things that no longer serve myself or humanity and hold us back from our divine existence. Help us to embody our intentions for the day and help us raise the collective vibration for the highest and greatest good of all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So be it, and so it is. All right. So now it's time for me to pull a card and talk to you about our topic of intuition versus social conditioning. Now, I told you guys the story at the beginning, right, of me hearing that message this morning that told me to warm up the car and I denied it. I denied the voice because I made the judgment that me warming up the car meant that I was, not tough enough to deal with the cold, right? That was a judgment that I made for myself, right? That judgment, okay, so the first message, and this is important because I want you guys to understand, and here I said I was going to share key um some key hints or some key clues to let you know whether or not the voice is coming from love or fear, or in other words, if the voice is coming from love, hence like true 100% pure love and light, which is source, right? And that's the voice of source, the voice of your higher self, the voice of your guides, however you want to envision it. But that voice that's looking out for you, that has your exact coordinates that you have put into it, right? So like your GPS system that speaks to you in your head, right? That is the voice that we want to decipher, right? Like which one is that voice, because we have lots of voices, just like when you're in the car, right? And this is exactly the same thing when you're in a car and you're thinking like I'm going to go wherever, right? And you plug in your coordinates to your GPS, but you have some friends in the car. And maybe you have a couple of friends who like to, tell you where to go on your trip, right? Or family members that you're like, well, the GPS is this way. Well, that's a terrible way. You should be making a right here. And don't forget to make a left. And oh, we have to go through this way, right? So you have all these people in the car telling you where to go. So sometimes it might be hard to decipher which one is the inner guidance, which one's the GPS, right? So you have to silence all the other voices. But in your head, like in person, and if you have everybody in your car, you can look at the people and say, hey, I don't want your opinion. I don't want your opinion. I don't need to know where you want to go. We're going where I'm going, where I want to go, and we're going the way I want to get there, right? Because there's a million ways to get to where you want. Right. So you have to be clear on how you want to get there, because if you know how you want to get there, then when other people give you a suggestion, you have to filter it for yourself and say, hey, is that going to get me there in the way I want to? Right. Like, so if you're driving, you're on a road trip and you get lost along the way and you stop and you ask somebody for directions and you say to them, I'm looking for the scenic route. Right. And they say, well, I recommend you taking the highway because it's a lot faster. And you say, that's great. Thank you so much for your help. But I really am looking for a scenic route. So can you direct me to a place, to the route that will take me a little bit longer? Right. And so that person might get you to, go the scenic route, because you have to decide how you want to get there. So here we go. Back to the beginning. You input your coordinates into your GPS, and then you need to figure out which one is your GPS giving you the directions versus the inner voices in your head that are filled with people that you love, with people in your past. They're filled with just messages that you hear, the things that you've heard, things that you've seen, lessons that you've picked up, experiences that you've had yourself, right? And you start to make judgments and you make up your mind about what certain things mean or don't mean. And all of those things are in your head when you're making choices. Love this. It's all about being clear with yourself. Yes, Meredith, it is. You have to know exactly where you want to go and how you want to get there and be super clear. So when you're listening to your inner voice, the voice that is loving and compassionate is the voice of source, right? And even if it's in your voice, because you're not hearing in your head, even if you're connecting with spirit, even if you're connecting with, I mean, if you're a medium and you're connecting with people on the other side, you may hear things differently. So that's not about this. But just when you're hearing your messages from your higher self or from, spirit or source or your angels or whatever, when you're hearing your inner internal guidance, right? That voice is your voice, right? It's a thought that comes up. It's not like you hear, Patricia, please go to, this direction. Call this person. She needs to talk to you. Like, that's not what's going on, right? Like, all of a sudden, these ideas come and you're like, oh, I think I'm going to call Meredith today, right? Or it's like, oh, I think I need to do this, or I really want to go to Target today. I don't know why today, right? And then you go to Target and you get there and you're like, oh my God, the exact thing. I've come here 7 times and the thing that I wanted wasn't here, but here it is, right? Now, using Target, is a fun, silly little example, but it is exactly the way it works, where we get little hints. And very often those hints and that intuition that we hear is leading us to where we want to go. But we ignore it because very often when you hear those little messages, the message isn't, go this way where you will find success, right? It's not like, this way to all the riches, right? Like, move in this direction to find peace, right? You're not given those types of direction, right? And not literal in that sense, but you feel a pull. You feel a pull to do something. You feel a pull to call someone. You feel a pull to do something in a certain way. And that's what you need to listen to, right? Okay. Now, I understand you're thinking, well, yeah, I hear those things a lot, but sometimes I still don't know if it's, my higher self or source talking to me, or if it's just my conditioning, right? Because we have been conditioned since we were little. And if you read my post about, this episode today, I write in the post something about how, the loving voice, like we are told it's the loving voice. But growing up, when we are given guidance from our family, from our friends, from our teachers, and I don't mean, the limiting stuff, but I mean, like, we are given lots of loving information, loving and supportive information that includes warnings, or it includes, like, those pitfalls where it's like, don't do it that way because then you're not gonna become who you want. Or it's like, oh, really? If you do it this way, okay, well, I guess that's the way you're gonna do it, but don't expect to succeed, right? And these loving voices that are giving us boundaries or limitations, they are giving us boundaries and limitations based on their own experience, based on their own filters, and based on their, limiting beliefs, right? Now, the reason I bring this up is, of course, some of that advice is important. Much of the advice you get from loved ones is important. It's important to keep certain things in mind. It's important because they want your safety, they want your well-being. And there's lots of good pieces of advice that we hear from friends and family that definitely helps us. But when you're hearing the voice in your head, the voice that comes from source, the voice that comes from, like, the root of all things, is not giving you advice that sounds like, don't stop, um don't stop, you, or anything judgmental or insulting, right? That voice is the voice of love and compassion. So it's never going to be like, you're stupid, stop doing that. Or it's not going to be like, this is a terrible idea, right? That is your judgment. That is the judgment and the social conditioning that you have picked up, right? That's what that voice is, the voice of reason, right? Which, I mean, sometimes the voice of reason is a voice of reason and things you need to consider, but it's also very connected to the human experience and not connected to the spiritual experience, right? Your human experience does have boundaries and limitations in certain things, but your spiritual experience, your spiritual being, has no limitations, is boundless. And when you are receiving guidance from this boundless, limitless energy, it will always direct you in a way that moves you forward. So it's not like, stop doing this. It will say, do this. It will make the suggestion of redirection versus stopping you, right? It's not going to be like, you're stupid, don't do this. It's going to be like, hey, don't you want to do this? And that's a very different energy, right? It's an energy of allowing, it's an energy of momentum forward, right? Because it is always moving forward. Energy that comes from source, energy that comes from evolution, energy that comes from, you know, our that is has our highest and greatest good in mind, is always moving you forward and redirecting you, or kind of like, I look at it as like if we're mice in a maze, right? You want the mice to move forward, right? And so you have these like panels, for the maze, but you're not trying to get them to go back to the entrance. You want them to like go through the maze and get to the exit, right? So you might leave, some treats, right, along the way, but you're not going to leave treats that go backwards because you don't want them to leave. You want to see how long they're going to take to figure out how to get out of the maze, right? So you put like, maybe motivational, food or snacks that lead them to the destination that you want them to get to, right? And Source is always looking for us to win. Source is always looking to give us exactly what we want. So it's not going to be like, yeah, go back here, redo this stuff, and then come back. No, your advice from Source will always be, how about this? How about this? How about this? And you're like, ooh, right? And even if you think sometimes that you are following, the shiny objects in your life, as long as the shiny objects are not filling a void or not making up for the lack that you feel, and the shiny objects that you see are actually just like, oh, I'm so curious about that. I'd love to experience that. Isn't that something cool? Like, and they become detours, because detours are okay. Detours get you to see really cool things on this, roadside attraction, right? A detour will get you to see, the way the locals kind of, function when you're visiting new places, right? You might see a little, corner store. You might stop, at a local market, and that is where the detours are taking you. They're taking you to the presence of things, right? It's taking you to that moment of being present with where you are in your journey. And so one of the key things about the messages, and I did say, I should write this down, but sometimes the information comes through and I don't write it down in time, because this came through today. So the things you need to look out for is, number one, that inner voice is always a voice of love and compassion and never judgment. Okay. Number two, that voice, that inner voice, that's your inner guidance, is always moving you forward. It is not trying to stop you or limit you. It is going to propel you in the direction that you need to go. And number three, that inner voice is always in complete and utter alignment with your GPS coordinates, because it knows where you want to go and how you want to get there. And so it's going to give you the guidance accordingly. Okay, so now I'm going to pull a card and see what the angels have to say about all this stuff I just told you about. Boom. Look at this. Okay, number 44. Which is 44 is an angel number. Angels are with us and really supporting us. And look at this, strength, right? Strength. And the message that I'm receiving right now is, whenever you are being guided by your inner voice, you are always being given strength and support, right? It is never taking away your strength. It is never taking away your courage. It is never taking away your essence. Those messages that you receive, it is not being removed. Your power is not being taken away. Your power is being given to you. And very often the solution or the message that you hear is going to connect you with your power. And I'll use that example once again, back to the beginning, my story of the message that I heard. And even though it's so silly, that's why I'm going to use this message, because it wasn't this big grandiose, like, you must do this to change it, to change humanity for all of eternity. It wasn't that message. It was like, you might want to warm up your car, right? That literally was the message, was warm up your car. Right. And I ignored it because I judged myself thinking, what am I, a wimp? I can't take the cold. I'm Canadian. I had something to prove. Right. So that inner voice that came to combat that first voice was one of judgment, was one of fear. I don't want to feel like I'm weak. I don't want to feel like I can't handle things. It was a judgment. That was the voice that I followed, because we are used to that, because that is our social conditioning, because we don't want to feel less than what we are. But that was a voice that took away my power. That was a voice. And maybe it didn't take away my power in that moment, but let me give you the reverse scenario, right? The reverse scenario would be, I heard warm up the car. I get outside, I warm up the car, and I go, oh my God, the window's frozen. I'm so glad I came out early. What a great idea I had. Thereby feeling powerful, feeling like connected to my intuition. I'm so glad I listened. I feel powerful with this information. And you're building trust because you heard it, you acted on it, and you saw the results. And this is how you build trust with that inner voice. When you get that message, and if that message is loving, if that message moves you forward, right? It's not a stop, it's not a don't, it's a do this, right? And if that message is in complete and total alignment with your vision, with your GPS, with your coordinates, then that is what you follow each and every time. And every time you listen to that voice, you will be strengthening the connection. Every time you listen to that voice, you will be clarifying the way it communicates with you. Every time you listen to that voice, you are going to trust yourself and the universe that much more. And I promise you, everything around you will start to shift and change, because you will know exactly what to do, because you will be connected to that inner voice that is always looking out for your highest good and highest healing. And what's even better is that it's also connected to everyone's highest good and highest healing, because the voice comes from the source of all. And if you think that God doesn't want all of us to win, well, you're not giving God much credit, are you? Okay, that's it. That's my message for today. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube page. Go to Jumpstart for Change and ding that notification bell. And I will see you tomorrow. I'm here every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on Facebook and on YouTube. Don't forget to join me. I'll see you soon. Bye.